Sarno, my friend, says Harlow, the halfling who is the abbot, Happy Abbey. You have spent some time here. You have excavated the hall, the golden statues. Right? We thank you, right, for your contributions uh, to our collection here as well. But I believe it is time for you to follow your heart's desire. You are not one who wishes to explore the known lands, but you should go to the west, where you can discover places that those around here are unaware of. Places you have never been, even in your travels. That is my advice to you, right, as your confidant, as your friend. Head to the west. Welcome back to Profi Plays. I'm Profi, and we are going to be picking up here with some Shadow Dark. I'm super excited because I think I mentioned in the last episode my birthday was coming up, or had just happened or something. In any case, and I was waiting for the Shadow Dark book to come. Well, it came. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Oh, Kelsey Dion's work is amazing. In any case, so I am now going to be using this book as kind of the center of playing this game, which I mean seems appropriate. If I'm going to play Shadow Dark, maybe I should base it on the game. All right. So in any case, um, so one of the things they have in here are hex crawl rules, right? So I'm combining the hex crawl rules from here with I have already been using travel rules from Shadows of the Wild Beast. I really do like these travel rules, actually. You can find them just on Reddit, if, I imagine, if you just search Shadows of the Wild, Shadow Dark RPG, hex crawl rules or something like that. Yeah, I found them for it's either free or pay what you wanted. It's a very small. It's like eight, not even 8 pages of content. It's like 6 pages of content plus a cover. Uh, so that's that. So I decided it would be kind of fun, right, to use some hex crawling rules. So we're going to hex crawl into a new area previously undiscovered. So that way we can just get a sense, right, of how this works in the Shadow Dark system. So we have been spending our time for as long as I have been doing Shadowrock games. So we have multiple characters who have spent their time right here in this hex of hexes. We are going to be leaving, right? Right now, we are right about here in this abbey. We're going to be heading to the west, where there are parts unknown. So, goodbye, hex of hexes. We have seen many come and go, many fail to survive. And we are now traveling right into a new hex map. Yeah, this is one, you can see it's from Stella Gamma Publishing, who is very involved with Cepheus and those systems. Right, so what I am imagining here is we are going to be coming in. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the Hex of Hexes was all based on a 2 mile hex, where this is based on 6 mile hexes. Well, I mean, I guess Stella Gamma, it's imagining like parsec hexes. But I'm just using this because I like the labels. So like 0807, that's something that feels convenient to me. So what I'm imagining here right, is the way these things relate is something kind of like for me like this or something like that. So the point of a hex here, the hex we're in, so I'm gonna say we can just go through the point and they're gonna end up, let's say in 805 is where we're hoping to end up. So this is where if I went this way, just to make this clear, this is going up to 805. This would go to 806 if I were to do something like that. And this goes to, it looks like C17 or something like that in my other map. So if for some reason I decide to move between these maps, which I really don't plan to do, because part of Sarno, remember the way he started out, right? He's being released from service, right? So that he can go and explore the world. And I think this matches the idea of exploration much more than going around the known world. Now, with these rules that I'm going to be using here from Shadow Dark, as I pull out the hex crawling rules, one thing that I am immediately going to modify or here it is. Right. So the basic loop that you're going to be going through is we're going to be moving into a new hex. We're going to discover what kind of terrain it is. Now, I'm going to assume that we have here kind of a temperate climate. So that means, given the choice between desert and Arctic, I think I'm going to go with desert. Right, so we're not necessarily cold. And forest and jungle, I'm going to go with forest. Right, so that's kind of the decisions that I'm making on that front. Right, so we're going to be moving into these hexes, and we will determine terrain, danger level, right, and then point of interest. Now, the thing about the point of interest is that the way that things are set up by the book in Shadow Dark is that I would roll a d6. If I roll a 1, there's a point of interest. Otherwise, there's not. Now, what that would suggest is that here, when I have something like, what is this, a total of 80 hexes here. So we'd end up with something like 14 points of interest on this map. Now, to tell you a little bit about my geography. Right, I am from Ohio. Ohio, I was surprised to learn, is one of the more densely populated states in the United States. So, in my mind, the idea that there can be a 6 mile hex with no point of interest in it, and not only is that possible, but in fact, that happens 85% of the time, something in that range, right? That sounds totally incredible to me. Right? Because like my commute, I don't have a very far commute compared to many people. I commute like 7 miles most days, each direction, and I pass a bunch of stuff. Now it's not necessarily big stuff, but when you're talking about points of interest like temple or a village, I drive through multiple villages to get from where I live to work, right? Now, I have some days that I commute significantly further. Some I'm ignoring those days, but the days that I commute just short distances, I'm driving like through right, town after town. So maybe this 1 in 6 of these hexes makes sense, right? Say if I don't know the author of the book lives in Nevada or something like that, which is which is true by the way. That might be fine. But I'm not going to do that. Also, I'm not going to do that because I like the idea of there being lots of points of interest. That means every single one of these hexes has an adventure in it. I remember a while back, I was reading somebody talking about hex crawls and said, how much adventure can happen in a 6 mile hex? And apparently, they had found that, like, basically the entirety of the Skyrim map, right, can fit inside of a 6 mile hex, which is to say, a lot. There's, there's a lot of room for adventure inside of a 6 mile hex. So that's why I'm just going to declare as the solo GM, every single one of these hexes has something in it. I'm not going to do a pointless hex crawl where literally there is no point of interest in any one of these hexes. If I'm traveling far enough, there's going to be something of interest there. Okay, so just so you know, that's what I'm going to do. All right. I feel like I'm like, I don't have to justify myself. When you play solo, you can do what you want. Just I feel like I have to justify myself, though. I don't know why. Okay. Doesn't it doesn't really matter that much. All right. So let's go ahead and we are going to use our overland travel rules. So right now we are not yet in the West, which is what I'm just going to name this map the West. There we go. So we are going into the West. There it is. Which makes it sound like I don't know the elves going into the West or something like that. All right. So I'd previously, I think I had mentioned possibly wanting to do a new rumor, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the hex crawl thing instead. So let me rearrange some of my stuff and get out my necessary tools. Okay. So in order for us to make this travel, we have to lead the way according to our travel rules, and that is an intelligence check of a difficulty of 12, if I recall correctly. It is a difficulty of... No, it's not hiking. Lead the way. That's it. Um, yes. Yes, difficulty 12. On a failure, we spend a travel round but do not progress or leave the current hex. Oh, one thing that I also need to do. I forgot to do this. I need to eat a ration. So I'm eating one ration so that I could heal. I'm not going to make myself eat rations all the time. I mean, technically, I probably should do that, but I'm not. I like the idea of using rations just to activate the healing. All right, so let's go ahead and do that check. So I am operating my intelligence at -2. So the odds of me actually getting anywhere are pretty slim. So I will give myself advantage, again, based on the minstrel skill. Now, that's going to become a little bit dodgier as I'm heading into parts that I don't know. But yeah, I mean, presumably as a traveling minstrel, uh, you have some intuition for navigation. So here we go. And 15 minus 2 is 13. That's good enough. All right, cool. So we did manage to make it out of this hex. So we're traveling this way. It looks like this was a swamp. So we were moving out of the swamp. So that is going to inform then the next hex we go into. Right, so the way this works, when I'm moving into a new hex, I am going to roll a 2d6, and that tells me how this hex's terrain compares with the previous hex's terrain. Because there's effectively a loop, right, that exists for the different terrain types. You move your way through. Okay. Right, so as I travel, I got a 10. Right, so 10, according to this chart, tells me that, okay, new hex is the current terrain plus 2 steps. So I was originally in a swamp. 2 steps is going to be now we're in the forest or jungle. So we know we're in the forest then. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll draw a little forest here, a little lollipop forest. So that is where we are now. So we made it into the forest. So I need to keep track of my time of day. So I slept. So we left, let's say, in the morning. So we are here. This is episode 5 of the story of Sarno. And in the morning, we travel to 0805. And then I am going to just declare there is a point of interest here. We need to find out what that point of interest is. All right, so let me pull out another sheet of paper just so I can take reasonable notes about this. So we're in 0805. What we know about 0805 is that it's forested. Oh, I also need to check for uh, random encounters, right? So because we are here in, we need to find out what kind of terrain this is, how safe it is. So that's another d6 roll. I rolled a 6, which that is deadly. So so I'll just say the odds of us having some kind of random encounter are quite high. This says in deadly terrain you check 6 times per travel round. That's a lot. Okay, so let's check, see how many random encounters we have. There's one. Okay, it's 3 checks, 4, 5. Oh, there's a second, 6. So we're gonna have 3 random encounters. So we have 3 random encounters. So make a note of that one. All right, so 3 random encounters over the course of that morning. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my D100 because I'm going to use the table from Shadowdark. Shadowdark has encounter tables in it, which are D100 tables. Now, I don't think it's 100 unique entries. I want to say it's something in the neighborhood of 50, right? But I'll pull out my D100 or percentile dice, and let's find out what the first thing is that I meet in the forest. All right, so forest, there it is. Forest encounters. So my first encounter. Encounter number 1 is 08. All right, so this one, a panther drops down on the rearmost character. Well, bad news, we have exactly 1 character. So I need to find out how much of a problem it is that a panther just jumped on me. Um, Panther. Panther. Oh, there it is. Oh, Panther. Panther's a level 3 creature. Where I am a level 1 fighter. Yeah, this is fantastic, isn't it? All right. Well, Sarno may not make it very far into the list. Well, let's see what happens. All right. Now, fortunately, I do have multiple luck tokens. I don't know that I should be allowed to have multiple luck tokens, but I have them, so I'm going to use them. All right. Probably, probably going to use them against this panther. So here we go. So I got ambushed by a panther. And I think the obvious thing here is that because I just got ambushed by a panther this morning, that they get the first attack. And a panther gets two attacks, actually, at +3 each, right? So the first attack, now I'm wearing chainmail, so that would get probably 13. So, okay, so that's a miss. And then the second one, also to +3, a miss. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So now here's the problem. Okay, now we actually have equivalent moves. So it's at least possible that I might be able to run away. Except running in chainmail, I mean, just logically doesn't sound like it's going to make a whole lot of sense for me to be able to outrun a panther when I'm wearing chainmail. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck here. But I mean, to be honest, I cannot fight this thing and expect for this to end up well. Um, I really don't think it's going to end well if I do. So, like, could I make some kind of runaway roll? Is what I'm thinking. Because I don't believe that there are any like strict rules for runaway rolls. But I feel like running away is in fact the right choice for me at the moment. Um, yeah, because I'm facing a level 3 doesn't make any sense. All right, so I'm going to try to run away. I think I'm going to do this just as an opposed dex roll. Right, so Panther has a dex of +4. I have a dex of +0. So I'm going to make that attempt. Right, to see if maybe I can outrun the Panther and say if I succeed, then I'm scot-free. If I don't succeed, then they get another attack. That seems like the obvious thing. Right, so I rolled a 12. And the Panther rolled a 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. I won. Okay, so I fled. So ambushed by Panther, and here we go. Sarno runs away. I am rather surprised that worked. But hey, it did. It did. And the dice don't lie, right? Just go with that. All right, our second random encounter. Let's see, maybe something better, possibly not getting attacked by a level 3 creature, 66. I don't like that number. It's a little on the high side for my taste, but a massive half-buried stone head peeks from the earth. Now, I'm going to take this not to mean that there's a creature that is a stone head that just came out of the earth, but rather that this is just like ruins that I saw. I just want to make sure that stone head is not actually a. It is not. Okay. All right. So as I am going through the forest, we do see these ruins, right? Or at least what was apparently at some point a statue, right? That is, largely buried at this point. And so not a whole lot left of that. But that might possibly be suggestive when we look for a point of interest. Now we have a third encounter. So encounter number 2 was this stone head, partially buried. And then what is the third random encounter here in this forest, in this deadly forest? 97. Oh, goodness. The Wandering Merchant pops out of a rotten tree stump. Okay, so number 3, the Wandering Merchant. I was reading a little bit about the Wandering Merchant, and I love the idea of this character. All right, so let me read you a little bit about the Wandering Merchant. I don't want to give away too much, but the basic idea of the Wandering Merchant. It's a cheerful merchant who appears to be a hale, middle-aged human man with a handlebar mustache. He wears a white shirt, breeches, and a leather apron, and he hauls a towering backpack bursting at the seams. Few know the merchant's true nature and origins, though some theorize he's an immortal being or a god. They're not entirely incorrect. The wandering merchant always has something useful, far flung, or incredible to sell at a reasonable price, and there's no telling when or where he'll show up next. Right, so I'm going to look here. Now, in terms of reaction, he's lawfully aligned, so I think that he's going to be more positively um, inclined toward me. But I'm just going to go ahead and roll a reaction roll just to make sure, because I want to create the possibility that maybe he's not. Uh, That's 5 plus 1 for my charisma. So that adds up to a 6, which when I check the reaction table, that is barely hostile, but still hostile. Um, I mean, that's quite bad because he could just kill me. Well, okay. Reading a little bit about him, like I don't think I don't think that he's just going to lop off my head or something like that. He is capable. He's capable of doing such a thing. But I don't think that that is what's going to happen. So the question then, so he says, so it says that he always has something useful, far flung, or incredible to sell at a reasonable price. So what is something that might be useful, far flung, or incredible that he might be willing to sell at a reasonable price? So here's what I'm wondering. I'm thinking me okay. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I'm going to turn to the treasure table and I'm going to roll a random treasure on that table based on my level, which is level 1. So I'm rolling on the random treasure table for 0 to 3. Uh, but I don't think it makes sense to accept a low roll because I mean the idea that I have something very useful for you. Here's a dull dagger. That does not make sense to me. Right. So instead, I think it's likely that what he is going to sell me is something in the 80 to 100 range. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take these dice, set them aside. I'm going to take a d20. I'm going to roll this, and I'll add 80 to it, and that will tell me what item it is that he has for sale. At a reasonable price. So I'm thinking like a small discount. I don't want to say half off or something like that. Um, but a small discount. So I'll think about exactly what discount that's going to be in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and find out what he has. Right, so he offers me that would be 12 plus 80. That's 92. A magic wand with a second tier spell. It's worth 100 uh, gold pieces by the treasure table. How much would he sell it to me for? Well, I mean, one, it better be less than 100 gold pieces if I'm going to be able to buy it. But I don't think I'd want to buy it anyway. So I think that I might just thank him for the offer. And it, I mean, like, we don't have any, I don't have any wizards that I know, right? So I think that, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn down the Wandering Merchant, which is a real shame. It's a real shame. But I really like the idea of the Wandering Merchant. Fortunately, I'm lawful, so this going south, I don't think is what's going to happen. All right, so Wandering Merchant offers to sell a magic wand, and we refuse. And there's nothing on here saying that he would be upset or anything like that if we refuse to buy from him. I mean, he's just a wandering merchant, that's all. He does sell some interesting stuff as far as that goes, but yeah, I think that that's it. All right. Well, it turns out that like if it came down to a fight, I wouldn't have been able to hurt him anyway. He's only damaged by magical sources, and I don't have a magic weapon or anything. I just have my great axe. It's a pretty good great axe, uh, but it's just a great axe. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving then. All right. So that was the morning. So we've come now to midday. And now one of the options that we have is to explore, and I'm going to explore here. So by exploring, what I mean is I'm going to find that whatever the point of interest is, right, and then I'm going to explore it. Okay. Point of interest jumped out of here. All right, it's 5. 5 indicates, oh, so the point of interest is a temple. So I'm going to write that down. So what about this temple? 10. It's guarded by its current residents. Okay, so it's temple guarded by its current residents. Explore them. So I find a temple. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that on here. I'm going to use the same symbol that I used for abbeys before, just because I'm used to that as being like a religious, right? So that kind of fern-looking thing. Right, so there's a temple here. Right. Right, it is currently guarded by its current residents. So I think it's important that I know, right, are these residents, um, are they interested in killing me? Okay, so I'm going to roll this as if this is a settlement. Right, so I'm going to roll for the settlement's alignment. Right, and the alignment here is lawful. Okay, so it is a temple guarded by current residents. Now it is lawful though, right? Which means I don't think they're immediately going to kill me, but I think that this temple does provide some protection against things like panthers, for example. Right, now I want to know a little bit more about kind of the state of this temple. Right. So I'm wondering, is there something in here that lets me find out, say, the quality of the temple or something like that? Not immediately. All right. So that's good to know. Just flipping through real quick. Yeah, I don't see anything here that would tell me that. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ask the oracle and use the Solar Dark rules for oracles. So the question is this temple run down? Right, so that would tell me that it is ancient. Right? So is the temple run down? So we know 11 and higher, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, it is run down. Okay. So so we have this temple, it is run down, which tells me it probably, I'm just going to check, that does it have kind of the same architecture that it reminds me of that stone head that I found half buried. Uh, the highest that I got here was a 10, which is actually a twist. Right? So let's go ahead and find out what that twist might be. Right? So this twist presumably has something to do with a possible connection, right, to that stone head. Right? So it's 65 and 67. So 65 says confront, 67 is secret. All right. So confront secret. Hmm. So we find a temple. We know it's lawful. We know it's run down. And then we have this confront secret. Okay. Well, now the way that I'm imagining this at the moment, right? So I come to this temple. It's well, it may be run down. It's very clearly occupied because after all, they're actively guarding it. So the question is whether I can convince them, right, to let me come in. Right? So I think that makes sense that we would do that. So what I think I'm going to do here, because they are lawfully aligned, as am I'm going to roll a reaction roll, but with advantage. Right? So I'm going to roll it twice. Because the first one is terrible. The second one also terrible. Right? So thought they wouldn't immediately attack me. I was wrong. I was wrong. Right? So it looks like they're going to have, right, some kind of guards or something. They do not want to let me in for whatever reason. So I'm going to go ahead and see guards. Do we have guards in here? Yes. Yes, a guard is a level 1. So I want to know how many guards are there? There are 4 guards. Okay. So while we're even trying to get in, right, now, confront secret is in some way connected with this. Well, at the very least, we have four guards confront me. Now, I don't think that they're immediately going to try to kill me, right? Because, I mean, I'm not a panther, and they are lawful, so they are interested in the common good. I don't think that I necessarily, I mean, I'm a minstrel, at least by background. So even though I'm carrying a great axe and I'm wearing chainmail, I don't think that I give off really evil vibes or something like that. So I'm thinking I'll probably be okay. So that's the thing. So are they willing, right, to just capture me if I surrender to them? So let's say that that's what happens. So I'm willing to surrender to them, right? Are they willing to just take me? 17 is a yes. Okay. All right. So four guards confront me, and I agree to go with them, and that makes perfect sense. Right, none of us are evil here. We're perfectly. I can come with you. Now they might take my great axe temporarily. Right. So I think then they would bring me into the temple, and I think once I'm in the temple, then I need to meet an NPC. So let's go ahead and roll on some NPC tables because I've not used these NPC tables before, and I want to find out how they work. So that's the way the game works, right? Okay, so I need to find out something about this NPC that I'm going to be interacting with. So first thing I need is a D12. Right, so they take me, I think, to who their leader is. Okay, so they take me to the temple leader. And what we know about the temple leader is that they are 9, they're a halfling. What is it with these religious halflings? Right, so it's a halfling. I've already determined that they're lawful, so I'm not going to roll for alignment again. What about their age? I'm curious what this is going to say. So this is going to be a D8 roll, which basically boils down to the higher the number, the older they are. 2, they're an adolescent. Okay. And what about their level of wealth? Right. So this would tell me something about how they're dressed. So they're poor. All right. And I want to know a few more things about them. So their appearance is a 4, so they have a beauty mark. What do they do in terms of action? 5, they pray aloud. Okay, that makes sense. And then finally, secret. 4, they're in a religious cult. Well, I mean, it's not so secret. I think I'm gonna re-roll that one. Like, unless I wanted to say that like there was some like dark, like, "Oh, this is actually not a lawful cult. It's a chaotic leader that's misleading everybody." I'm not gonna go. That's too stereotypical. In love with a bartender. That's kind of fun. Okay, let's do that. Where's the bar around here? Who knows? Maybe the temple has one. We can we can think about that later. Right. So for now, I do want to give them a name. So let's see. I'm just going to use the name chart here. It's Nora. Okay. So it's a she. Yeah, I'm going to go with, yeah, I'm going to treat Nora as a feminine name here. All right. So Nora, the lawful halfling adolescent poor, so I'm guessing this is like a vow of poverty here, with a beauty mark, prays aloud. Right, so this all makes perfect sense. Right, so they take me right to her, but she's very clearly on the young side. Right, so I imagine that she has the reputation of being something of a prophetess or something like that. So she's a priestess prophetess, something along these lines. Being a prophetess makes sense to me because that would explain why she's apparently in charge of things, despite the fact that she's very young, right? So they have to see her as being particularly authoritative. Right? So they don't trust me. So the question is, one, what do I want from them? And two, what would they want from me in return? Right? So I think that that's a very reasonable way to approach this. Right, so I naturally am going to be as charismatic as I can and very understanding, and just saying that I am an explorer, right, that is seeking out this area that people from where I am from in the east, right, have lost track of what is happening here in the west. And as such, I have come, right, to explore, to find what I can find. And this just happens to be right on the eastern side of what we think of as the West, where I'm from. Uh, so what I'm looking for right now, right, is I think a place to stay the night. I mean, we know this forest is very dangerous. I've already been attacked by a panther on the way. So just would they be willing to take in a weary traveler? That's the question. So we already know they're not well inclined toward me for whatever reason. They do not trust, right, Sarno, the fighter dwarf fighter, whatever. So I think that when I roll charisma here, the difficulty is going to be a little bit on the high side. So I'm thinking maybe like a 15 instead of the standard 12. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to convince them a DC of 15. And I'm going to say that if the answer is no, that they're not just going to let me stay, that doesn't mean they're going to kick me out and make me sleep with the Panthers. Instead, that means that they will want something in return. That they have some kind of problem that needs to be fixed, and that will be a quest that they will give me. All right, so that's what I'm thinking. So let's see what we've got. So can I succeed and just be allowed to stay the night? This is charisma roll at a +1. That gives me an 11. 11 is not 15. So the answer is no. They are not willing, right, to just let me stay the night here. They want something in return. What is that something? And here we're going to break out the adventure table. Right? So I'm going to create an adventure here at some point. All right, I know there's an adventure. Yeah, I think. Oh, there it was. Aha, the adventure generator. Right. So, just going to say in return for a place to stay, they want Sarno to. Let's find out. So it's 3d20 rolls. So they want Sarno to 20 free the 15 relic. Okay, this makes sense. Free the relic where? The relic 17 in the catacombs. That's it. All right. So that is what Sarno is being asked to do. So the way that I'm going to run this. One, I'm not going to go into the catacombs in this session. After all, we're looking at almost 40 minutes. I'm not going to keep it going that much longer. So what I'm going to do uh, next time is we're going to go into the catacombs. We're going to try to free that relic that is in the catacombs. The most obvious thing here is that we're going down into a tomb. The tomb probably has some kind of undead in it, right? And there is going to be some kind of creature there that has this relic that it has captured. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen next time. All right, so as for now, we are here at the temple and we are thinking about what we need to do next. What we would do next? Well, that's next time. Thanks for tuning in. Profi Plays, signing off.